Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Stock Market Today. It's Alissa Coram here. Thursday, June 5th, we saw stocks lower on the day amid some heated comments between the world's richest man and the world's most powerful man. We'll talk about the action in the market as well as some stocks to watch. Joining me now to break it all down is my colleague, Ken Shreve. Ken, what do you have for us?
Crazy times in this stock market, Ali, but seeing a lot of great action in individual stocks. A little bit of selling in the market today. We haven't talked about Cloudflare in a little while. NET, interesting name here. Also in the enterprise software group, Nutanix, NTNX, and Construction Partners. They do a lot of work in the Southeast, ticker ROAD.
Sounds like a plan. Also, we'll have to check in on Broadcom and Rubrik
That's
earnings
right.
out after the close. So we'll circle back to that at the end. But first, let's take a closer look at the major indexes. The NASDAQ under the most pressure today, down about 0.8% by sessions closed, reversing lower on the day. Meanwhile, the S&P 500 down about 0.5%, coming very close to that 6,000 level, turning tail. The Dow down 0.25%, and it looks like the Russell 2000 closed roughly flat on the day or on pace for a flat close. Small caps there represented by the IWM ETF. So let's start with the NASDAQ. It did seem like some of the selling pressure here, Ken, did come from Tesla, which has a huge weighting, mega cap tech company, down 13% on the day. So would love your thoughts on the NASDAQ action.
Well, a downside reversal. We saw volume pick up on the downside. So this is just a classic plain old vanilla distribution day for the Nasdaq. So we'll add one more day to the count here. So that's gonna be 4 on the Nasdaq, and then we'll have 3 on the S&P 500. So that's still not an alarming level of distribution days. But like we say, when they start to cluster, when you see a large number of them over a short amount of time, just kind of repeated signs of institutional selling, that can cause real problems for the market. But at least with the S&P 500 and Nasdaq, you can see they're still holding above short-term support levels. For the S&P 500, you see the volume is not showing higher yet, but it is going to be about 10% higher than the prior session, it looks like. So, distribution day for each index, they're both holding above the 10-day line. So it's we may be S&P may be getting some resistance here at 6,000. Maybe it'll consolidate, pull back, and just digest gains here for a little bit. I don't think anybody would be disappointed to see that, just to see the market catch its breath for a little bit. But we will have to see. But right now, 6,000 could be a tough nut to crack for the S&P.
Yeah, definitely a level to watch. So with the downside reversal being distribution action here with a pickup in volume, could we see, it seems like a pullback? Yes. And Ken, it does seem like we had great timing yesterday with our commentary on not wanting to get complacent in this market.
Yeah, very true. We've seen, over the past several days, there have been some days where action in the market has been pretty quiet, but we've seen some growth stocks, coming under some increased selling pressure, maybe some profit taking starting in some of the market's biggest names. But again, we're not in any big trouble here, but we try to keep it simple when we're gauging market health. We just monitor distribution in the market. We got a distribution day today, but distribution is still fairly contained in this market. And but it's a headline driven market, as we know, and the comments back and forth between President Trump and Tesla CEO Elon Musk were unbelievable at times. Really, it's just shocking what the headlines that come out. But anyway, we have to navigate them.
Yeah, no doubt. And we did also get headlines earlier in the day about a call being held between Donald Trump US president and China's Xi. So we don't have all the details, but we do know it sounds like the two are going to be coming to the table at some point for trade talks. We do have that July 9th date that folks are looking at, from that 90-day pause perspective. But it sounds like they did have a call, and the talks are going to be getting going here. So, in terms of trade related headlines, we have that to potentially digest in the coming days or weeks as well. But taking that step back, we're still above some key support.
Yes, 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 we are. And I believe that first meeting between Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent and some Chinese leaders, that was in Geneva, Switzerland. And I think what came out of this phone call earlier today is that there will be another round of meetings. They haven't been set yet, so there is some progress there. But if you listen to President Trump talk about negotiating with President Xi Jinping, it's not easy, and this is very complex what they're trying to do here. I think the market is still confident there'll be some sort of arrangement, but dealing with China has plenty of challenges. President Trump knows this, and it's probably not going to get a wide ranging deal anytime soon. But as long as conversations and negotiations are continuing, I think that's what the
Mhm.
market wants to see.
Yeah. Okay. Well, while we have the S&P 500 up here, Ken, I think it'd be great to contrast the S&P with RSP, which is the equal weighted S&P ETF here, down just 0.25% on the day versus the S&P's decline of 0.5%.
Yeah, this ETF it looks to me it's not really revealing a market that's in big danger here. You have two down days in a row, holding above key support levels here, not far from a breakout either. So again, this is a market that there's still a lot of underlying strength out there. We did have some volatility. There's no doubt today there were some sharp declines. You mentioned the total dive in Tesla stock. I mean, it was it was some pretty significant selling. And look at the volume for this down session. You have to go back many months to see volume this
Mhm.
heavy on a daily down day. So
Right.
tough day for Tesla, and again some other growth stocks under pressure here. But we still have to look at the
Mhm.
glass as half full here.
Yeah. And I think it'll also be interesting to compare QQQ, the NASDAQ 100, with the QQEW ETF, which is the equal weight. So QQEW looks like down about 0.5% on the day. The Qs down almost 0.8%. So,
Yeah, yeah. So higher volume decline for the Nasdaq 100 today. QQEW is still in position here for a breakout try. So underneath the volatile headlines, you've got a lot of stocks out there still acting well. Like I said, there are undercurrents of selling. So. Some investors, depending on your time frame, may be wanting to take some partial profits here. Others with a long-term perspective, and they're seeing some of their big leaders still holding above short-term support levels, maybe just sticking with these heavier or higher weighted positions. But if you want to take a little bit of money off the table here, that seems perfectly fine. But you don't want to go too heavily in cash. We're still in a nice uptrend here.
all right, let's take a look at some stocks, starting with Cloudflare, ticker NET, on the verge of a breakout to highs here, Ken, from a base with a depth of 50%. So quite a deep base. So the fact that it's now back at highs, what an incredible move off the lows here, that relative strength line at new highs. So I think with a lot of stocks participating in this market, especially from the tech sector, from that software group, we've seen a lot of really sharp run ups. So, do you buy out of a cup with a 50% depth, or you really try to go for those earlier entries? Of course, in hindsight, after earnings in early May would have been perhaps a good time to get into this one. But as it's at new highs, are we at risk of seeing some sort of pullback, Ken? buying the stock as extended as it is?
Yeah, well, I think you know me well enough. Sometimes I'll bring up stocks that might look like they're in buy zones here, but certainly, Cloudflare, first of all, composite rating of 98, accumulation distribution rating of A, uh, sales margin return on equity rating of A. This is a fundamental giant. They're basically a provider of different types of networking services. They're also known as a content delivery network. So they do everything from web security and just their technology enhances the performances of networks. And you can see the top line growth has been there. Classic stock for the watch list here, because you have a stock that showed a lot of accumulation after it reported that the earnings, lots of accumulation as it built the right side of the base. So it's in this classic position here where if the market starts to soften a little bit, this could just kind of start to drift lower. And if it does it in light volume, then you've got a nice little shakeout, little handle forming here, and could pave the way for a possible breakout. So this needs to consolidate, but I think it should be front and center on the watch list here, because it's a high quality company with a proven track record of performance. But you can see the weekly chart, several up weeks in a row here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I think nine up weeks in a row. So let the stock pause, digest gains. If it starts falling in really, really heavy volume, that's going to be less desirable than just kind of a nice orderly pullback in light volume. That would be the preferable action to see from here.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Great thoughts there, Ken. Let's also go to NTNX. This is Nutanix, and it's also in the enterprise software theme. This one did have a pullback in
This
recent
one,
weeks.
yeah, did have a pullback, kind of a short-lived breakout attempt. Well, it was a kind of a 79.99. There was an early entry there, that 76.25
Mhm.
pivot. It came down fairly violently last week, but I like how the stock traded today, because there were a lot of stocks down with the NASDAQ. Nutanix actually closed up near its high, not far from breaking out of a downtrend here either. So this is another interesting company with pretty good fundamentals. Look at the earnings in their second quarter earnings, up 75%, nice acceleration from 22% growth in the
Mhm.
prior quarter. Revenue growth also accelerated. This is a cloud software company where you can get computing, storage, and networking all in one product. So kind of a niche market for Nutanix, but you can see that earnings and revenue growth very, very consistent in recent quarters. And looking at the weekly chart here, again, 1, 2, 3, 6 up weeks in a row, and now a nice little. This to me looks like an orderly pullback. The
Mhm.
high volume decline last week. Notice how the stock did close off its weekly low here. So this is technically still a strong stock. The relative strength line is even after that little pullback is still right up there near highs. So I think another interesting name to watch in the enterprise software group.
Let's now check out Road. This is Construction Partners breaking out in recent weeks, quite a few up weeks in a row. I think it's working on its seventh week up in a row. But
Yeah.
look at earnings growth in the most recent quarter, Ken. An impressive 500%. Of course, it's going from negative to positive, but it also has really strong top line growth too.
Yeah, I want to do a little more reading on construction partners to see how much they're involved in the data center side of
Mm.
heavy construction, because I don't think that they're pretty big in that area yet. They do most of their work in the southeastern U.S. Roads, highways, bridges, airports. That's sort of their specialty. But again, another example here of a stock that is showed a lot of accumulation as it built the right side of that base. Look at the revenue growth has been super impressive in recent quarters. And while we look at a lot of stocks and we look at future earnings over the next coming quarter, sometimes we see growth really slowing. But I really like the estimates here. They're still they're still supposed to hold really strong here for the June ended quarter. Revenue is going to be up 57%. That's if they meet expectations. So this is another stock that is front and center on my watch list, only because I just want to see a little low volume pullback here. But to see multiple up weeks in a row, that tells you could have a nice winner here. It's trended nicely in the past. So we'll put this on the watch list. And we mentioned Argan. This is in the same industry
Yeah.
group, AGX. Really wasn't trading yesterday when we were talking about it in after hours, but this one had a really nice day today, up 8%. Kind of the same industry group. It's a group peer for construction partners. So really broad-based leadership in this group.
Well, speaking of earnings, let's check out some highly anticipated stocks reporting after the close, including chip leader Broadcom, ticker AVGO, in the same industry group as NVIDIA. Looks like shares as of this moment down about 2.6% or so.
Yeah, I think the expected move, at least in the options market, was this was supposed to move about 14, 15 points if memory serves. So it seems to be a muted reaction so far. The stock is down a little bit, but considering the scope of the gains in this one, I mean, talk about another stock that has rallied sharply ahead of earnings.
Mhm.
To see it down, 2.5, 3% after several up weeks in a row. We'll see what the numbers look like here. This is in the leaderboard model portfolio. We had a nice gain on it, but it was a quarter position because we trimmed it last week ahead of Nvidia's report. So still have a nice cushion here. We'll have to go over the report and see
Mhm.
what the good news is, what was good, what was not so good. But maybe it's an outlook here. But yeah, down a little bit, but it could be a lot worse.
Yeah, no doubt. A pretty mild reaction at the moment. So
Yeah.
we'll definitely track it in the regular session tomorrow. Also, Rubrik. So we looked at a chip name. Now let's look at security software. Rubrik up 3.4%. This is also a leaderboard name.
It is, and looks like it's kind of pulling a page out of Zscaler's playbook, which was quite extended ahead of its earnings report earlier in the week, but it managed to gap up and continued higher. So we trimmed this back just a little bit after talking with the group this morning. It was a full position, really one of the highest weighted holdings in the model portfolio. So it was about a 12% weighting, something like that. We trimmed it back to maybe 10%, just took a little bit off the table. Seems like a positive response so far. This is one of the juggernauts in the group. Not profitable yet, but you can see that the top line growth has been accelerating in recent quarters. Not sure if it accelerated again, but wouldn't be surprised. So we'll take a look at this report, but encouraged to see a nice reaction so far.
Absolutely. All right. Well, thanks as always, Ken. We appreciate
Sure,
it.
you bet.
See you next time. And thanks everyone for tuning in. That is it from us for today, but we will be back with more tomorrow morning on IBD Live, where we will be joined by special guest Eve Bobach. She is a portfolio manager at Ropel Capital Management, also co-author of The Life Cycle Trade. Her specialty, IPO stocks. Looking forward to getting her thoughts on the likes of CoreWeave, eToro, and so much more. So make sure you tune in investors.com/IBD live for all the details. We will see you there in the morning. And then Justin and I will see you right back here after the close on Friday to wrap up the trading week.